The year is 2014, and in the atmosphere is the din of second-year mining engineering students waiting for the geology class to begin. And true to form, our tall and slender Dutch geologist, who always took the opportunity to remind us in Siena she's married to a Zimbabwean man, walks in. She takes the podium with her hair tied to her back and she begins the lecture by saying, "The mining industry is going down." The din suddenly becomes silence, and we all open our eyes very wide in anticipation for what she'll say next. But she continues to tell us about the China meltdown. Now, before this point, what had happened in China is that they were building, right? They were in this infrastructure boom, and as any construction project comes to an end, so did theirs. But the problem was with this China meltdown is that while China was constructing, they were importing platinum from South Africa. So we kept pushing platinum to them. But now they no longer needed our platinum. Anyone who studied economics will tell you that when demand is down and supply is up, you need to reduce prices, right? You reduce prices, your revenue goes down. And when the revenue goes down, it affects the bottom line. And what mining companies were doing then is either laying off people or they instituted what is known as a headcount freeze. So they weren't hiring students who had graduated, so they weren't hiring anybody for that matter. What a way for our lecturer to begin the lecture. I mean, we're in second year, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and she tells us, "There's no value for you in the market." Everyone panicked, but I don't think anyone remembered that day as vividly as I did, and here's why. In that moment, when she was telling us about the China meltdown, I felt like a Jonah. Now, I am not Jonah by any stretch of imagination. But that day, I felt like a Jonah. And in the event that when your Sunday school teacher was teaching about Jonah and you were asleep, or you weren't paying attention, or you were off because you were sick, let me give you a quick crash course. But Jonah was a prophet that God sent to Nineveh, and he built Sir and he boarded a ship to Tarshish, right? He goes into the ship, and as if he did nothing wrong, Jonah has the audacity to sleep. He sleeps. The ship sails, and mid-sea, God sends a storm. Everyone in the ship starts panicking, and they start calling upon their gods. Now, I know of only one God, the God of the Jonah that is sleeping, so I can't imagine what these people were chanting and what these people were saying, calling out their gods, but their gods they did call. But that did not help. They started devising other means. So they thought, let's take matters into our own hands, and literally, let's take the cargo in the ship and throw it out to sea. They do that, and still, it doesn't help. I need to remember there's this guy who boarded the ship, but he's not in this mix. Where is he? They go and find Jonah sleeping, and when he gets up, he realizes, geez, I'm the problem here. And he says to them, guys, let me cut you trouble, throw me out to sea. And I can imagine these people had been praying, they'd been working off the walls, and they did not have time to debate with him. And to sea, did they throw him out. So he gets thrown out into the sea, and God, being the provider that he is, sends a big fish or a whale to swallow him whole and take him back to where he had sent him, Nineveh. And in Nineveh, he begins the work that God had sent him to do. Now, in that moment, I'm sitting in the second year geology class and I'm thinking, I am the reason that the mining sector is going down. Oh, but of course, I was esteeming myself too highly. I was only in second year. What did I know, right? So it wasn't my fault. But what was happening in that moment, so the story, Yara Jonah, was resemblant of the inner turmoil and the inner storm that I was feeling inside. Now, let me tell you how I was as a kid. I was always a kid who was fortunate enough to go to a Model C school in Kalalukshin. So when I came back home from school, I would gather all the kids for studying in order to teach them English and to teach them maths. I was always really excited about the idea of people not knowing something, and when I teach them something, they know it and they do better. Then on school holidays, I'd still gather all the kids from the streets beside me, and we would gather jumping lines and play Coca-Cola Pop Stars, Miss South Africa beauty pageant, and I remember asked my mom to buy me those kid laptops, those educational laptops, right? I asked her to buy that for me because every day I would watch your TV, these games and these quizzes, and I wanted to be the presenter that does that and make the kids in the street smarter. So all along, I've always been the person that develops people, that loves to coach people. And me standing here today, this is not my first rodeo. When I was a kid, I would sing in church. I would speak in church. I'd get churches like this one inviting me to come and speak. So all my life, I've really been this activator, using my voice to activate people, give them something to think about and something to implement. So this has always been me, right? And I often find myself in a situation where people who barely know me come to me and give me their life stories or want me to give them some counsel about what they need to do. Only because I'm very open about my life. I'm very vulnerable and transparent with my story, and so people find me easy to relate to. This has always been me. And when it came a time where I needed to submit applications on what I wanted to study after school, I thought this type of person that I am will go well with psychology and child psychology to be specific. But a lot of people who asked me what I wanted to do after school said to me, you're going to waste your brain. You're good at math. You're good at science. Go and study something in engineering. And my engineering is what I picked. So here's the problem. I know myself, right? I know what comes natural to me. I know what my strengths are. I know what my gifts are. I know what I want to do. But for fear of wasting my brain, I ran. When Nineveh was right there, I was like, nope. I ran away. I was told, no, you're going to struggle with your degree. When you're an engineer, jobs come easy. And I thought, see, Mali, it's exactly where I'm going. And I headed into the direction of mining engineering. And first year of school, man, oh man, my storm began. School was so hard. And given that I was a person who glided through primary school, glided through high school, varsity was a different ball game. It was so hard. Everything sounded like Greek. Maybe because it was alpha, beta, delta, sigma, gamma. Everything was that. Even English sounded like that. So first year was really hard. I wanted to quit. Second year got better. I don't know if the course curriculum got better or I got smarter, but things were better. Third year, the workload gave me so much stress. I started developing chest pains. And in that process as well, I started to lose my hair. So I developed an autoimmune condition called alopecia. And I was like, geez, Lord, I know I'm not supposed to be here, but come on, go easy on me. But that didn't happen. Fourth year, I experienced my biggest, baddest heartbreak just before starting my final exams. But because God is good, in that, when I started varsity, it was really difficult. But the time I left, I was on the dean's list. And this was not a nod to say you're on the right track. It's because laws of nature, right? When you plant, you reap a harvest. So you study, of course you pass. If you study well and you understand what's going on, of course you will. So it wasn't a function of me being in the right place. It was a function of me doing the right things in that moment and getting the right results. So the turmoil is still continuing in my heart, and I started working in a mining technical consulting firm. 2017, my oh my, that goes down the books as one of my toughest years. In that year, I was working for this technical consulting firm, and every day felt like a chore. Those are chores that you may take pleasure in because when they clean, it clears their mind. I can't relate. When they cook, it's therapeutic. I can't relate. But waking up, opening my eyes felt like a chore. It was so difficult. The alarm would ring in the morning and I'd be like, where am I going? What am I doing? I would leave work and just before bed cry, thinking, what did you do with your life? Whose life did you impact? And I would pray and cry and say, Lord, reveal to me what you want me to do with my life. I know I'm not supposed to be here. And the storm kept brewing and brewing. I was thinking, Master, the tempest is raging. The billows are tossing high. The sky is all shadowed with blackness. No shelter or help is mine. want that I perish. How can you lie to sleep when each moment so madly is threatening a grave and the angry deep? And I said to God, throw me out to sea. Throw me out to sea. Remember, I've got my engineering degree. And to see God threw me out. He thrust me into the financial sector. In 2018, I started working in a bank. That for me was my whale. And before I talk about my whale, I want to ask you a question. What are you running away from? What are you running away from? What has God put in your heart? What has He given you the natural and even supernatural ability to do? But because you don't feel qualified, because you've never seen anybody do it, because you've got no guarantees that it'll work out, you run. What are you running away from? And I know we've all got valid reasons, valid excuses. What are you running away from? Because what God will do to get you back to where He's sending you to is put a storm in your life. You know, sometimes we're like, yo, Satan, and it's not even the devil. He's out there like, we are sweet. Because God is the one that is sending the storm because He wants you back where He sent you. Each of us sitting here have got a purpose. And I talk about purpose so much because each of us have got a reason why God put us on this earth. It does not look like anybody else's. It's unique to you. And a lot of the times we run away from it because it takes so much from us. You know, my friends and I used to sing a song, it takes your hands and your eating budget, that has to be cool. And your heart. It takes everything to serve the Lord. And you find yourself not wanting to give everything to the Lord, but He will send a storm. He will send a storm. Also, when He does send a storm, He sends a whale. In my case, whale was corporate South Africa, this big bang. What I did not realize while studying is that my degree was actually a universal key. In my mind, I was either going to go underground or I was going to go into consulting. But I didn't realize is that this mining engineering degree was a universal key. And what I mean by this is, you know, when you're locked out of your house or out of your car, you get a locksmith to use the universal key to open your door or whatever. And I didn't realize that what this degree taught me isn't just how to calculate fleet size, or what explosive to use underground, or which mining method to use for which rock or which circumstance. What my degree taught me is, number one, that I can be trusted to start something and finish it. In 2013, I started my course. In 2016, I graduated. But what my mining degree taught me is that I can be trusted to be given information, digest this information, interpret it, and when I'm called upon to act on it, I can apply what I learned to the equations or the sums or whatever it is that is being asked of me. It taught me that I can solve problems. What my degree taught me is that I can work with people. I often had to be in groups working towards a certain report or certain projects. These are things that I could learn elsewhere, but by virtue of being in that course, I learned. So in a way, it was a simulation of what I had to face when I got into the work world. And when I got into the bank, what I also realized is that this degree gave me experience. I know this sounds weird because when you haven't worked, you know, the whole chicken and egg things, you want people with experience, but you need the job for the experience. So what needs to happen? It gave me experience. And the experience it gave me is that I know what it feels like to study a course you don't feel called to, or that is at odds with what you believe your purpose is. More than that, when I started working, I got to live the experience of the people that are now attached to my purpose. I know what it's like to wake up in the morning and feel like I'd rather be dead or rather continue sleeping. I know what it's like to not care how you dress because you don't even care about the work that you're doing. I know what it's like when in the beginning of working, you know, and you know yourself also to be an outstanding person, but as the years go by, your performance rating goes from good to needs improvements. I know what it's like to feel that you're wasting away. I know what it's like to feel that you could be doing so much with your life, but because you chose safety, because you chose stability, this is not your life. It gave gave me that experience. So when I go through what I now call the Purpose to Profession program with young professionals, I'm not speaking about theory. It's not things that they're telling me. It's things that I've lived. It's things that I've experienced. So I can say to them, this is what you do. This is how you get to the other side, because it's a journey that I followed. But more than anything, what my degree gave me is access. Access to the very people I am called to serve. And when that dawned on me, I started realizing that there was beauty. Well, not in the moment when I was studying, but there was beauty in me going to school and getting conferred with a mining engineering degree. What was interesting also is that when I was at work, people, as if it was written all over my face, so they could smell it out of me, they kept saying, do you love it here? If you had nothing else to do in the world, would this be the place that you come to? And I would see them going through what I went through in 2017. I would see them lashing out at people, not because people have done something wrong, but because they are fighting internally a battle of, I don't want to be here, so don't test me, don't try me, try Jesus. It was difficult for them. I saw people getting sick with depression, with anxiety, because they were not where they were supposed to be. That storm that I experienced is a storm I saw ensuing in them. And I wouldn't be able to identify it if it wasn't a storm that I went through myself. So here I am in this whale. So much about me got revealed to me, right? I learned so much. I was given resources to do what I want and explore what I want to explore. And because now I had access and I experienced the people that I'm called to serve, I started learning them more. I started hearing what their plight is. And because I had gone through that process and I knew what needed to get done, I started then taking them through this process. And later in this month, it's either 17th and the 21st of this month, I will be taking a group of young professionals through a 5-day challenge called Where is My Purpose Taking Me Next, right? Because some people are still in the storm and others are in the whale, where they're like, okay, I'm here, but where to next? What do I do? Who do I consult? Where do I go? How do I channel what I know and what I'm skilled in to where God wants to take me, to where my purpose is trying to take me? I'm still in the bank, I'm still in my whale, but I can feel that the whale is ready to throw me out or to throw me up. And what that looks like for me is, remember who I was as a kid, that developer, that coach? What that looks like for me on land is really taking other young professionals on this journey, as I said, of discovering what their purpose is and channeling that purpose into a profession that will, number one, fulfill them, number two, create an impact in the world, and number three, be a tool for building generational wealth. What it also looks like is these corporates really relying on, and I don't want to say my IP, because one thing I found about myself is that when I'm not spending time with God, I am not really wise. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to behave. I become a Wilson at the Oscars. But when I do spend time with God, it's like I become this very brilliant young man. When I talk about the consulting aspect of being in my purpose full time, it looks like these corporates consulting me to say, hey, we've got these young professionals, they are frustrated, they don't know what it is that they need to do, and we're helping them then align what their purpose is to a role in corporates. Because the truth is, some of us are called to corporates, right? And some to entrepreneurship. Others are going to be called into the creative space. Others maybe will need to go into full-time ministry. That's the one a lot of people run away from. And others are going to have to start non-profit organizations. All this depending on what your purpose is and who you're called to serve, right? And so for people in corporate, it looks like this is what you're called to do. And you can very well align it to your role or find a role in this corporate that is going to help you carry your purpose out. And one thing I love doing with all my heart is to speak. I love leaving people with something to think about. Okay. I give people practical things. Actually, what am I running away from? And you make a note, or you think about that, and then you think, what is my will? Am I in my will or am I still in the storm? And what will my will look like? Who do I need to be seeking help from? What books do I need to be reading? What work should I be putting in such that when this whale spews me out to dry land, I am ready for service. I'm ready for the work. And you look at where you are now and you think about your future, right? When you think of your ideal day or your ideal life, what does that look like? What are you doing? What are you saying? What are you wearing? Who are you with? Where are you? Are you Elohim or Bahamas? What does it look like for you? For me, my future looks like I've just told you, coaching and professionals. I love that with all my heart. It looks like companies consulting me for their hiring decisions and their talent management. It also looks like me speaking across the whole world. And one thing that people will tell you about me, people who listen to me speak for the longest of time, is that I bring the Bible to life. I don't think anyone has ever thought about the Jonah story as it relates to their profession or their lives. But today, it's not just about a prophet who ran away from God's call and was swallowed by a whale. It is, how am I a Jonah in my own respect? How am I a Jonah in my own life? Think about what you're running away from. Be very honest with yourself. I think the worst thing you can do is lie to yourself. What are you running away from? And why? Maybe that why is also very important to find out. Number 2, will you have the courage to ask God to throw you out to sea? And will you be observant enough to know when you are in your way? Because also for a lot of people, they get very comfortable with this way. It's like, oh, at least I'm Manzi, you know, this way is nice and cushy, and you stay in your way when it's just meant to be transported to take you from where you are to where you need to be. And for a lot of people in corporate, I know for a fact, you know, you get there and you're like, okay, this is my in between, my temp, and then they keep giving increases every year, promotions here and there, and you're like, hey, it's not that bad. And 20, 30 years later, you realize you're 60, 40 years later, you're 60, and you need to retire, and you did not live a single day in your life. You know, there was a man who was retiring at 17, and one lady went to ask him, what can you give to a young person who wants to go up the corporate ladder and make it big? And this man said, in my time at the bank, I'm 65 now and I'm leaving. In my time at the bank, I realized that I only closed deals for this bank and none for myself. And what he said was, close deals for yourself. But it's deals, obviously, that are in line with God's call over your life. And finally, I want to also say, what does the future look like for you? And when you think about that, when you think about what you could be doing with your skills, with your strengths, with your talents, with your mind, with your abilities, are you really living right now? Are you living? Are you really experiencing the abundant life that Jesus came to give all of us? And if you're not, you know what to do. Amen.